doing homeschooling. So you're already doing it, just for starters. And then you don't have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn and fly out the door and get all the kids ready to go to school and drag them out kicking and screaming and make 3 different breakfasts because one kid didn't want scrambled eggs and one kid's cereal got too mushy. You know what I mean? All the things that you got to deal with in the morning. It does make it easier. You are equipped if you're feeling like this is too much for you this year with the woke stuff or the school isn't doing a good enough job. Make other arrangements. You can do it. So we'll talk about all that in a little bit. I do want to begin with something that I feel like I'm wondering when this topic comes up, like why we're still doing this. But I understand that we are unraveling the mess that was made from administrations previous to us, and the conversation on transgender surgeries in minors isn't over. It is essentially where we're at. We've had a lot of monumental wins as conservatives in this country protecting these kids, but it's not over for a long shot. And there was a report that was released yesterday, the wolves in white coats, how doctors and hospitals pushed and profited from the fraud of gender medicine. It was released yesterday by Bobby Kennedy's HHS, and J.D. Vance has played a big part in this, and it's been sent to the DOJ for criminal referrals. They're saying that there were financial incentives and captive parents. And while a lot of us are going, duh, it is very, very important for a government document, an official government document, to have this in black and white, so that way we can point to it and say, see what we're talking about? This isn't a right-wing conspiracy theory. This is what we've been talking about for years. There is so much financial incentive to make a patient for life. And in this report, it details what the average cost of these procedures per year looks like and what the average cost of a regular minor who doesn't get the hormone blockers or the bits removed, what that looks like. The average health insurance costs for a minor who is a healthy boy or girl just going about their days, $3,000. Okay? $3,000 a year. Which I looked at and I was like, that feels a little high. But just for the sake of the report, they said $3,000. In the report, it talks about how that $3,000 just completely flies up once you start getting into these procedures. And nationwide, all-payer claims data shows nearly $120 million in billed charges for sex-rejecting procedures on minors since 2019. More than 5,500 surgical procedures, 8,500 courses of hormones or puberty blockers. Top billers include major children's hospitals across the country, including Mount Sinai in New York and Boston Children's Hospital. These people are sick. They were doing this for a reason. The average yearly cost cited, roughly $545 for androgens, $735 for estrogen, $16,385 for puberty blockers. Then you get into the surgeries when they start removing boobs, when they're doing the mastectomies, the mammoplasties, the phalloplasties. You're looking at, excuse me, $12,000 to over $130,000 a year. This is a money-making outfit, and it needs to be shut down. Then it goes even further, and it says that in this report, to skirt some of the language, providers allegedly used diagnosis codes that did not accurately reflect patients' conditions, so that way they could secure the insurance coverage for these interventions. It's insurance fraud. Nearly $50 million billed between 2015 and 2025 for puberty blockers given to patients aged 9 to 17 under the endocrine disorder unspecified code. And it excludes the legitimate indication of the precocious puberty. Nearly $11 million billed, including to Medicaid and Medicare, for puberty blockers given to hundreds of patients, 13 to 17, under a precocious puberty diagnosis. By definition, listen to this, precocious puberty doesn't happen to anyone over 13. So you put this down as the diagnosis for hundreds of patients aged 13 to 17, but the definition says it doesn't happen if you're over 13.
Right to jail.
Thank you. They all should go to jail. This is like crimes against humanity status. What they've done to these children and these parents. We had Chloe Cole in here a couple weeks back. And if you've never seen the interview, you've never heard of Chloe Cole's story, it's on the YouTube page. It lives there. You should go check it out. She talks about how the medical industrial complex literally fear-mongered her parents into falling for the PSYOP. And they said her parents were very hesitant about all of this. But as soon as they got in the doctor's office, because at the end of the day, these parents loved their daughter and wanted to help her, the doctor rushed in like she's George Clooney on ER, and she says, do you want your daughter to become your son, or do you want your daughter to suicide herself? It's like, what? Those are my options? That's it. Those are the options. It's sick what they did to these kids. It's sick what they did to a lot of these parents. Now, a lot of the parents, they went along with it for virtue signaling reasons because they were so stunning and so brave. But there were a lot of parents who just loved their kids and got duped. And that's what we're learning from this report. 8 firsthand testimonies describe weak clinical safeguards and informed consent processes. Recurring themes include rapid medicalization after distress related to a child's sex, insufficient evaluation of underlying psychological, developmental, social, or trauma factors, limited discussion of irreversible effects, pressure on parents to approve the treatment, like I just talked about, adverse physical and psychological outcomes, major difficulty obtaining care after stopping treatment or detransitioning. That's another point that never gets talked about. There's a growing detransitioner community online. They don't get the time of day. They get shunned. Worse than an Amish that wants to use a light switch. And they're shouted down. They're told that their concerns aren't real, and then no doctors want to help them at all. Chloe Cole outlined that exact same thing. We'll talk about the overall conclusion of the summary, plus J.D. Vance weighing in yesterday on Fox News about the report and how dozens of medical centers were getting rich by manipulating these kids and these families into these transgender procedures. We're going to talk about all that on the way. Phone lines are open for you if you want to join the conversation. 615-737-9986. It's 922. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock Store, and Force on Force training is back at the Glock Store. Saturday, September 19th, 2 classes, 9:30 a.m. and 2 o'clock p.m., 15 slots available per class. This is going to sell out. Trust me when I tell you this. The Force on Force is the most realistic training that you can ever get anywhere. I've taken the training myself. What they do is they thrust you into a real-world situation. So for me, I went into one of the shooting rooms at the Glock Store. Lights are off. They have a whole mock home set up, right? They say, okay, you're walking home. It's late at night. Your front door's ajar. What do you do? That's the only information they gave me. So then I had to enter the premises, find the threat, and decide if and when lethal force was necessary. It was me. So as soon as I saw the guy, I started blasting. But every scenario is going to be different. When is lethal force justified? This is what you're going to learn at the Force on Force training. 2 different scenarios per student, professional performance evaluation after each scenario, and the evaluations are based on all of the new Tennessee firearm laws. Only 15 slots available per session. Reserve yours now before they sell out. Glockstore.com/FOF.
A game of battleship that's being played out in the Middle East right now as U.S. aircraft carriers are being switched out. We'll tell you what's going on there at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
928 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Joan Jones waiting in the wings with the headlines in less than 2 minutes. You're in Jonestown, right?
I am in Jonestown.
Because Sam keeps putting up an empty newsroom back there whenever you're doing your newscast.
Oh, that's nice of him.
I switched the deck over, forgot to put the text
on the YouTube. A little bit of trolling.
Yep.
We like to do a little bit of trolling.
The text line was mad at you. You got the stream up late.
I know. I was late. I blame the program.
Mason's late.
Everything's late. It's Friday.
It's Friday. Well, to be fair, I said to Mason, go get me and Sam and you breakfast and be late today. But it's no excuse. Other than the fact that I asked him to be late to get breakfast for us.
Breakfast!
So I did it. That was my fault.
Totally.
And we appreciate Sam being. Joan, I would have got you something, but you're in Jonestown.
That's okay. I had a little bit of bacon and eggs this morning.
All right, let's go.
Some of that Islam repellent.
Stop it.
Savage. Absolute savage. All right, let's talk about the numbers. J.D. Vance, RFK Jr., saying that hospitals who billed for a transgender operation for a child were making about $170,000 per kid through the course of their life.
The report says the average health care cost for a minor is roughly $3,000. But for minors receiving transgender treatments, that number climbs to $75,000. If that minor elects transition surgery, it climbs to $170,000. So the question isn't just what happened, but whether or not anyone broke the law. And now, Vice President Vance is referring the report to
He's referring the report to the DOJ. They are going to figure out if anyone broke the law. And when you look at some of the fraud in here and how they've been cracking down on fraud, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some criminal charges because of the fraudulent coding, especially when it comes to Medicaid and Medicare. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side. We have comments from J.D. Vance on all of this. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got sunshine for you coming today, but 98 degrees for a high and a heat index that may reach 115 in some places. And then more sunshine, 99 for Saturday, 101 for Sunday. We've got a hot stretch coming and a heat alert for all 3 days. And while we're dealing with heat, there are some places that are dealing with flooding. More than a foot of rain falling yesterday in Indiana with flash flood emergencies being issued.
In Indiana, they are still dealing with standing floodwaters in many areas, and this is not over just yet. There are flood watches through at least tomorrow in 8 states.
That's ABC's Alex Perez. Indiana Governor Mike Braun declaring a state disaster emergency. The Pentagon switching out aircraft carriers in the Middle East amid reports of poor conditions aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been deployed for a long stretch in support of the war against Iran.
The carrier and its 5,000 sailors and Marines have spent more than 250 days at sea, most of it supporting the war with Iran, including more than 200 straight days without a port call. A U.S. official confirms a sailor did go overboard this month, but was recovered. Families of those on board told the Military Times at least 2 sailors have tried to jump from the carrier. But Central Command says reports of a spike in suicidal thoughts among the crew are false.
ABC's Karen Waugh reporting the USS George Washington, which is a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, is on its way from a port in Vietnam. It was seen crossing the Strait of Malacca yesterday. And the war on Iran is heating up on the economic front, too. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that the U.S. is applying measures never seen before, although he's not revealing exactly what that effort looks like. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us on all the apps, the FM dial. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We appreciate you doing so. We were talking about the HHS releasing a report exposing fraudulent insurance coding for sex-rejecting procedures on minors. This is the kind of stuff that we talk about, and it'll probably get us throttled on some of the platforms, right? The director of algorithm tickling is back there now. If I say that minors shouldn't have their bits chopped off, is that going to be de-incentivized on YouTube? I'm getting a nod. He's nodding. That's why we have you here. When I talk about the gender affirming surgeries,
yeah,
that's going to get me in trouble on YouTube, right?
Yeah, probably. Though, to be fair, Tim Burchett flashed his gun collection last night, and I was worried that we were going to get taken down off for that.
Wait, Burchett flashed his gun collection last night?
It's just in the background while he was doing the interview with Murphy yesterday, and Jackson texted me, was like, hey, so Burchett showed all his guns. We might get taken down. I was like, okay, I'll be watching. Let me know. And he goes, heads up. He just did it again. I was like, cool.
Somehow we would figure out how to blame Mandis for that.
Oh, for sure.
It would be the Mandis gymnastics to make it happen, but we would make it happen. I promise.
I mean, he was talking about tasing the hosts earlier today, so like,
this is true. Yeah, he did a whole poll on who should be electrocuted first. So weird.
I should have won.
We didn't have producers involved. I think
you
all
do
of
a producer one.
I think we could.
Can we just all vote me? I kind of.
If
I
they
it's like
okay,
to be tased.
So I would absolutely get tased by those Batman gloves.
Yeah.
As on one condition. I need to clear everything out first. You know what I'm saying?
Get a bathroom break in first.
I need a bathroom break, and I need a few hours of like no liquids, no fiber.
No fiber.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like I'm not afraid to. I'm a man, so I'm not afraid to cry.
I'm a man,
but I wouldn't want to crap myself.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
You know,
just everything seizes up. You never know.
All right, so back to the matter at hand. Before we got, I don't know how we got sidetracked. Would that get us in trouble on YouTube if I was crapping
Tased
my
on
pants? Well, no.
No, people have used like stun canes and stuff on YouTube on each other.
It's just a prank, bro.
Just for fun.
HHS released a report yesterday, the wolves in white coats, exposing fraudulent insurance coding for sex-rejecting procedures on minors. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, this is from HHS.gov. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services today released a report, Wolves in White Coats, how doctors and hospitals pushed and profited from the fraud of gender medicine, a commissioned report examining insurance coding practices, perverse financial incentives, and the provision of sex-rejecting procedures for minors. I like how they've changed the wording, right? It's no longer gender-affirming, it's sex-rejecting. Words matter. And this is the first time I've seen the sex-rejecting language in the public sphere, and I'm a big fan of it. Because you're not affirming who they really are, you're rejecting the sex that God gave them. So I think that's apropos. So the sex-rejecting procedures for minors, drawing on Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Guidance Department of Justice investigations, peer-reviewed scientific literature, hospital records, whistleblower testimony, nationwide insurance claims analysis, and interviews with patients and parents, the report presents HHS's findings and recommendations about the industry pushing and profiting off of so-called gender medicine. There's a short-form documentary illustrating the report's findings and highlighting the stories of the victims of predatory gender medical practices, also released in conjunction with the report. And it's about 12 minutes long. It doesn't have enough views yet. I'll tweet it out in case you want to watch it, because it should be watched. But this is just the beginning of that video. And it starts with the Hippocratic Oath, and it says on the screen, "I will abstain from all harm." What does it say? Hold on. I'm trying to scroll back. Do it live on the air, they said. I will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm, especially from abusing the bodies of man or woman, the Hippocratic Oath. Do no harm. This video is based on a report commissioned by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Some images may not be appropriate for young viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
So, before we start the questions, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name's Clementine. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm currently a student at UCLA right now. I love writing. I'm 21 years old as well.
What are some of the health problems that you experienced while you were on treatments and after surgery? And I know that's probably a tough question, but thank you for talking about it.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I dealt with a lot of complications from being on puberty blockers before I hit puberty. I have constant joint pain and bone density loss as well. They didn't explain to me the potential lifelong consequences.
Did it feel like you were leading the process? Or did it feel like someone or someone else were leading you in the process?
I started seeing a guidance counselor at my school. She started telling me, you might be suffering from gender dysphoria.
It's just evil. She has bone density problems. Started with the guidance counselor at the public school. Shocker. Anybody stunned? Anybody surprised? No, of course not. If you want to watch the whole mini documentary again, it's about 12 minutes long. It shockingly only has a few thousand views on YouTube. I would imagine that's because YouTube isn't exactly pushing that out to the masses. So if you want to find it, find me on X, at Chris Hand on Air. I've tweeted it out. It's directly from the Department of Health and Human Services. And according to the report, more than 225 hospitals and health systems established pediatric gender programs nationwide. The report also analyzes nationwide claims data from 2015 through 2025 and identifies approximately $50 million in insurance claims for puberty blockers billed using endocrine disorder diagnostic code E34.9, endocrine disorder unspecified. It further reports that nearly $11 million in claims for patients aged 13 to 17 were billed using a diagnosis code for precocious puberty, even though that can't happen after you're 13. Pursuant to the recommendation, today, Vice President Vance, as chairman of the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud, and Secretary Kennedy referred these hospitals and clinics identified by the report to the Department of Justice, respectively, for possible violations of federal law. RFK is quoted as saying, doctors and hospitals must put children's health ahead of ideology and financial gain. This report identifies troubling billing practices that demand scrutiny. HHS will follow the evidence, protect taxpayers, and hold accountable anyone who broke the law or violated the trust of patients and families. Under President Trump's leadership, we're restoring transparency and integrity to American medicine. The report recommends that federal and state agencies review coding and billing practices, strengthen oversight of claims submitted to public health programs, and refer suspicious billing activity for appropriate investigation when warranted. Dr. Oz weighed in as well. He's the CMS administrator, and he said CMS has a duty to ensure taxpayer dollars are spent lawfully and honestly. When billing practices obscure what care was actually provided, especially when children are involved, we have an obligation to follow the facts. We will protect the integrity of our programs, demand accountability, and make sure the American people are not footing the bill for sex-rejecting procedures that inflict potentially irreversible harm on young patients. The report's claim analysis draws on nationwide insurance billing data and reviews federal medical coding guidance to examine billing patterns associated with puberty blockers prescribed to minors. The report recommends continued oversight of insurance coding practices and appropriate review of billing activity that may warrant further investigation under applicable federal and state authorities. Assistant Secretary for Health Admiral Brian Christine said, our responsibility as health professionals, first and foremost, is to do no harm. As HHS commissioned report Wolves in White Coats details, the medical establishment created what the report describes as captive patients, placing vulnerable children on a path toward potentially lifelong medical interventions. Under the Trump administration, HHS is committed to protecting children from irreversible sex-rejecting procedures, following the evidence, and restoring trust in American medicine. The report recommends strengthening oversight of insurance and coding practices, enhancing program integrity, and ensuring appropriate review of potentially improper billing practices. Yesterday on Fox News, J.D. Vance was on with Will Cain, and he weighed in on the findings in the report. And J.D. Vance, I mean, you can tell that this bothers him. He's got young children himself. And anyone, I mean, I would say anyone, but there's a lot of people that have pushed this on the young children. But most people with young children understand that they don't have the mental capacity to be making these decisions that are going to alter them for the rest of their life. I would imagine that if you were a sane individual, you would come to that same conclusion. And what we have seen over the past years is something completely backwards. J.D. Vance exposed it on Fox News.
By an insurance industry, by some physicians, and by others who are getting rich from these procedures. If you just look at things like endocrine disruptors, these hormone therapies that we're giving to kids, again, a lot of them completely irreversible, causing long-term damage to these kids. We know that some of the pharmaceutical companies were getting rich by encouraging doctors to prescribe these therapies off-label. And one of the things that we've worked on with Bobby Kennedy, obviously that was just announced, I know that you're covering it and I appreciate it, is that sometimes the doctors and the insurers were mislabeling these treatments in order to get financial reward, even though they weren't being honest about what they were doing. Because of course, if they were being honest, if they were going to the insurers and saying, well, we're actually butchering these kids, then that might have raised some alarm bells in the medical system. Instead, they said that they were treating for endocrine disorders or for certain pubescent disorders. And that was allowing them to list medical codes in the billing that allowed them to make money off of these kids suffering while simultaneously avoiding any real scrutiny. And we really see this, Will, as part of our broader effort to fight fraud. There's just so much fraud in our country. But unfortunately, one of the biggest purveyors of fraud was this small number of doctors, people who were getting wealthy by actually doing these procedures on kids, lying about the medical implications of it, and collecting rewards for it.
It's sick. I mean, I think jail for these people is a moderate solution. I think that there's going to be a special place in hell reserved for these butchers, and that's what they are. They were doing experimental Dr. Frankenstein science on these kids with no regard for their well-being. It's just sick. I mean, I have young kids, you know that, and it's like, even my older kids, like, no, absolutely not. What are you talking about? Why would you do this to a child? Like, there has to be something really messed up in your mind. Truly. And J.D. Vance kept going. He said these kids would be lied to by someone in the medical community. Their parents would be lied to by someone in the medical community. And all of this really does need to stop. Like, this should be outlawed. This should be outlawed in all 50 states.
Label it as something else, as treating an endocrine disorder, then you can get a lot of money even though you're doing something very experimental and very untested. And again, this is why I say it really was two things happening simultaneously. I mean, we know that there were 12-year-old girls, especially because it was more common among girls than boys. It happened with both, but it was more common with girls than boys. They'd get on social media. They'd take feelings that were kind of normal for any adolescent, a certain discomfort with your body, with the changes that happen during adolescence. But then they would be lied to by some in the medical community, told that if you let us do these procedures that are going to make some of the doctors a lot of money, then somehow that's going to fix what you're feeling.
And to expand on what he's talking about with the social media, it's called love bombing, right? And it happens on Reddit or Discord or Tumblr. Is Tumblr still big? It happened a lot on Tumblr back in the day.
Happened on Tumblr and 4chan, and even in people's like friend affirming stuff on like Instagram or Facebook messages.
I just think one of the worst things that you can do for your girl's body image is allow them on social media. But that's a broader conversation for the immediate. When you're talking about love bombing, yes, every single kid in the history of the world between 12 and 16, 12 and 18 feel uncomfortable in their body at some point. And you would get online and they would say something like, I don't know. I don't feel like myself. I don't look good in these clothes. And then somebody would just chime in and be like, well, what if you're actually the opposite sex? And they'd be like, oh, I don't know. I never thought about that before. I'm like, well, cut your hair short. And the girl would cut her hair short and be like, oh my gosh, you look great. You look amazing. That really fits you. That really suits you. You should try to dress more androgynous. You should try to dress more like a male. And then a new picture would be posted. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing. You look so good. Those dopamine receptors start firing. They start feeling better about themselves. They haven't gotten compliments like this in a while. And that's how it starts. And that snowball starts rolling downhill. And it starts picking up steam and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they find themselves in a guidance counselor's office at school. And that guidance counselor isn't going to have the conversation with the parents the way they should. In some cases, the guidance counselor wasn't going to have a conversation with the parents at all. And then they say, this is really you. We should explore this. We should affirm this. And that conversation with the guidance counselor maybe eventually leads to a conversation with mom and dad. It gets to a point where you're in the doctor's office. And then in the doctor's office, again, like we talked about with Chloe Cole just a few months back on this show, who is she's an absolute hero for the bravery that she displays with the willingness to tell the story, because there's many people that have the same story that just don't even want to address it. She gets in that doctor's office and they say, ma'am, you can either let your daughter become a boy or she's going to kill herself. It's like, excuse me? A lot of parents are hit with that, and they don't know what the hell to do. They are stunned. They have not seen this process build for whatever reason, and now they're just gobsmacked right there in the middle of the doctor's office. It's sick. Some of the parents are all in for virtue signaling. They got the woke mind virus, you name it. But no matter how you slice it, this is child abuse. It always has been. It always will be. And it should be outlawed in all 50 states. I'm glad that HHS is taking this next step. I'm glad that some of these fraudulent insurance claims are going to be referred to the Department of Justice, and I hope we see silver bracelets handed out very, very quickly. It's 9:55. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. Aaron Parker, great guy, Batman fan. We were texting about that yesterday. He's like, you were right about Batman. I was like, thanks. You were right about the safes. We agree on a lot. Aaron Parker runs a Christian family veteran-owned business down there in Shelbyville, Parker Safes and Vaults. Everybody has something in their home that they value, that they need to protect, whether it's a firearm, whether it's a family heirloom, photo albums, a guitar collection. You have something in your home that you wouldn't want to lose because of burglary or fire. And if you make a call to Parker Safes and Vaults, you never have to worry about that again. These guys carry real safes, not filing cabinets that can be tipped over and pried open by a teenager, but safes from brands like Rhino, Heyman, Incus, Holland, Graf Under, and more. If you need a safe, Aaron and his sons, they specialize in picking out the right safe for the right person for the right needs. Give them a call today. Hundreds of 5-star reviews. These are the people you want to do business with. 931-842-6445. 931-842-6445. And you can learn more about Aaron and the business. Find out what safes they have in stock online. ParkerSafes.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis from Super Talk 99.7 WTN and Nashville's Morning News. I'm here with Chris from USS, United Structural Systems. He's checking out my basement, my foundation, my crawl space to see if there's anything wrong. Fingers crossed. All right, so there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is we found some cracks in my basement wall. The good news, I've got Chris here who's going to walk me through the next steps.
Yes, so unfortunately, your house has been subject to the pressure of the dirt. The hydrostatic pressure, heavy dirt pushes on foundation walls, and you got a little bit of what we call bowing. So that wall is pushed in a little bit, but we have a lifetime warranty solution for that. So we install, usually in a day or two, this can be done in most situations. We install carbon fiber straps, which keep the wall from moving inward at any point in the future. It's a lifetime warranty for anybody that ever owns this house. So it's a quick and routine thing that we do, but it yields some long-lasting benefits.
It's a great selling point if you want to sell your house.
Absolutely. Good thing about our warranties is they're not only transferable, like the contract says, they're automatically transferred when you sell your house. So you don't have to sign any paperwork or even send us an email saying that you sold your house. Warranty would transfer to the next owner.
Good morning, 10 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and we are looking at a brutally hot trend for the weekend.
We could hit 100 one or both days this upcoming weekend. Extreme heat and humidity are expected to continue now all the way through Monday.
Yeah, that's Stefano there, the heat index reaching 115 in some areas today. We have breaking news. A woman has been arrested for vandalizing the World War II memorial. Melissa Ferris is her name. She's facing 2 felony charges. What the memorial looks like this morning from a reporter at a TV station, WJLA, there in Washington, D.C.
A sacred ground defaced with this red paint reading "Clean Hands, Dirty $." And out here on the scene, we're seeing a ton of U.S. Park police officers really blocking off this area.
Yeah. Now, about those 2 felony charges that Melissa Ferris is facing, each one of them carries up to 10 years in prison. The Trump administration is going back to the Supreme Court on 2 issues. First, it's asking for full implementation of the president's executive order that says if states don't clean up their voter rolls, then the Postal Service will block delivery of mail-in ballots. This is an emergency request. The White House wants this green-lighted before the midterms. And the second issue, allowing construction of the White House ballroom to continue. It comes after an appeals court blocked work on that site while litigation continues. And there's more from Washington, D.C. this morning. The Daily Caller is reporting that a senior intelligence official in the Chinese Communist Party has purchased the historic securities building overlooking the White House complex. One former CIA operations officer saying that not only would the White House be at risk from classic listening post operations that collect phone calls and text messages, but emergency ops too, like hidden drone swarms. He's sounding the alarm, saying this kind of property is where the next 9/11 would come from. That's the latest news. Stick around for your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, True Social, even Blue Sky. But the first two are the big ones, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. If you want to see that short documentary from HHS, The Wolves in White Coats, I tweeted it out on my account. It's 12 minutes long. I think everybody should watch it. It's kind of a shame that it was posted... It was posted a couple hours ago, but it only has a few thousand views. This should be in the millions of views. Everybody should watch this. So if you want the link, you don't have to search for it. At Chris Hand on air on X, and it's right there for you at the top of my page. Appreciate you sharing it. It's not even for me. Like, just share this documentary because people need to see it. It's important. It really is. JD Vance breaking it all down yesterday with Will Kane. That wasn't all they talked about at all. He talked about a few other things. He brought up what's going on in Minnesota, don't you know? And he talked about the Somali immigrants who have come into the country, had children, and taken advantage of the social safety nets in our country.
I think that it's hard to top the Medicaid fraud that we saw in the Minneapolis area, where you had primarily Somali immigrants who came to the country, some of whom who didn't even have children, but were billing Medicaid for services provided to autistic children. I mean, it's one thing to engage in fraud. It's one thing to lie about a disorder that your child has when they actually don't have that disorder. But it's something truly extraordinary to actually collect services for children that you don't actually have. So that's got to be at the top of my list. But Will, I got to say, man, while it is hard sometimes to put a stop to the fraud, it's hard to prevent the money from going out the door. And of course, once it's gone out the door, it's very hard to get the money back. Finding fraud, there's just so much of it. I mean, you asked about this Chinese marriage scheme. There were thousands of people who were actually getting paid money to marry somebody that they had never met before so that that person could get access to American citizenship and all the benefits that come from it. There's all the Medicaid fraud. There's the food stamps fraud. There's the Small Business Administration fraud. There's this gender transition fraud. The unfortunate reality, Will, is that fraud in Washington, D.C. was as common as bad weather, and bad weather is very common in Washington.
I mean, he's touching on a lot of things there. With the fraud, I think this is one of the big things that we need to be focusing on as we head towards midterms. I hope that they can get the Iran conflict sorted out. I hope that gas prices can come down. We got, 82 days, 81 days until the midterm elections. And I've talked to some people who are just like, yeah, we're going to take it in the shorts. I was like, excuse me? They're like, yep. We're going to take it in the shorts. We're losing the House. And we really should focus all the money on just trying to prevent losing the Senate, too. Now, I don't know, man. Things can change. Things can change. There's a lot of time between now and the midterms. And you should be running every race like you're 10 points behind, even if you're 15, 20 points up. I'm not as pessimistic, but you do look around and it's like, if we lose a lot of these seats, if we lose the Senate, we're in big trouble because there are some radicals running. He was talking about Minnesota there, and one of the radicals that's running is the lieutenant governor in Minnesota. She's running for a Senate seat. Remember Peggy Flanagan? Mrs. Flanagan? I don't know if she's married. Maybe it's just Ms. Flanagan. She was the one that wore the shirt that said, "Protect trans kids," and it had a big knife on it. And it's like, funny enough, I want to protect kids from them becoming trans with that knife of yours there, the scalpel, these wolves in white coats, as HHS puts it. But you hear Vance talking about the fraud in Minnesota. How could any Minnesotans vote in one of these establishment Democrats who watched the fraud go on underneath their nose and did absolutely nothing?
Do you deserve any responsibility, the Lieutenant Governor, for those fraud schemes that have taken place in your state over the last several years?
I would say, the governor says the buck stops with him. More should have been done sooner, and I agree. And now we know that 100 people have been charged, 60 have been convicted.
The buck stops with the governor. I was just a lieutenant. What could I have done as the whistleblowers were coming forward and they were being shamed into not saying anything by the threat of being called just some of the most dastardly things you could be called, like, I don't know, racist. This is who is probably going to win the Senate seat in Minnesota. This is what the current state of the Democrat Party looks like. And behind her, if you're watching on the screen on YouTube, you probably saw it. If you're not, behind her, there's a nice rainbow sign. It says, "All are welcome here." And she means that she's got those radical ideas. And when it comes to gender-affirming care, as the liberals like to call it, we call it sex-rejecting care on the conservative side because you're rejecting the sex that God gave you. She was asked, should the gender-affirming care have a minimum age?
Minnesota law does not set a minimum age for gender-affirming care. Do you believe there should be one?
Now, before she answers, a minimum age. A minimum age. Doesn't have one in Minnesota. So is 3 too young? 4? 5? 6. I think that any reasonable person should say, like, yeah, toddlers, no. Adolescents, no. Teenagers, no. You want to make mistakes with your own life, do it after you turn 18. Before that, I look at it as child abuse. And I think, if we're being honest, I think the minimum age should be 26 because that's the time where your brain actually stops developing. And with such a lifelong decision that you're making here, it should be way tighter restricted than it is currently. But should there be a minimum age, she's asked?
I mean, I believe that what we need to do is make sure that people have access to healthcare. Frankly, that's one of the reasons, why I've run so hard on Medicare for all.
Healthcare.
And making
What
sure
about
that
gender
we get rid
affirming
of
care and an age? Should there be an age limit?
I think gender affirming care is part of healthcare. People need
Should there be
access
an age limit for it?
To healthcare. I think our law as it stands is a good law. I've supported it in the past, but I think the real question.
No age limit. That's how the law stands currently. That's a good law.
The people are struggling with is if I go to the doctor, how am I going to pay that bill? When folks have $16,000, $17,000 deductibles, it's untenable for people.
How are you going to pay that bill when you become a customer for life and you're shelling out, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these procedures? Well, the taxpayer should pay it for you, obviously.
So that is the issue surrounding healthcare that I hear from Minnesotans all across the state.
Okay, so you support the law as is, no limit. So if a 10-year-old wanted it, you would be okay with that?
Let me be clear, Pam. Yeah. I want to be clear that these, medical decisions absolutely should be made between a family and their doctor.
What if the mom is suffering from Munchausen syndrome by proxy? Should the parents have a mental evaluation before any of these decisions can be made? I would say yes. But this is who's probably going to be the senator of Minnesota. This insane person. And these views aren't just limited to Peggy Flanagan. This is the current state of the Democrat Party. And they're all moving further left on pretty much every single issue. I mean, stop me if you've heard this one before, but they don't want borders. They don't want ICE. They don't want police. They don't want prisons. They don't want the Electoral College. They don't want the Senate. They don't even want the presidency. These people are insane. Absolutely insane.
I'm talking about if they were abolished, how would it work practically? For like a criminal in your state who's here illegally, how would
She's talking about abolishing ICE.
that work practically? Would you think, would that person be arrested and deported, and what agency would do it? I'm just wondering how that would work.
We need violent criminals to be held to account, and we need an immigration system. Donald Trump's ICE is completely broken, and it is not the answer. And again, I would just say, while the national media may have moved on, we are still recovering from Operation Metro Surge here. And the fear, the chaos, it's outrageous. And I think the cruelty is the point.
There wouldn't have been fear and chaos in the streets if you had let ICE in your prisons. These radical positions are not limited to the Democrat running for Senate, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota. This is how they all feel. And they're all going to go along to get along, even if they have any minor objections. And you see it everywhere. The messaging is beginning to change in the Democrat Party because of the DSA. You have this ideology taking hold. And then you get Democrat reps who say, nah, the socialist takeover, it's not a change in ideology. It's just a change in terms of style. And I actually agree with that. I think that they've all had this ideology for a very long time. The style is just much more in your face. This is Democrat Rep Subramaniam.
Yeah, well, I mean, the voters want change, right? That's what they're saying. They want an end to the status quo. This is a rebellion against the status quo. And it's not necessarily change in terms of ideology. I think the DSA is winning some primaries because they're showing more change and representing more change. But, sometimes it's been a change in terms of, how long have you been there? Have you been there too long? Change in terms of, are you fighting against the Trump administration enough, right? And so I think it is a change, but it's a change not necessarily in the ideological spectrum as much as it is style and wanting to be more of a, against the President Trump and his administration.
Is it a change in style to be a Democrat and against President Trump and his administration? I feel like that's been the style for a decade now? It's been in vogue for a decade. But he says a couple things there that are important to highlight. It's not a change in ideology, it's a change in style. These feelings, these thoughts, these messaging, talking points, they're just way more front-facing. They were always there. He also said something that I found interesting, which was, it's a question of, have you been there too long? And I thought that was very interesting because we do have quite a few people on both sides of the aisle that have been there for a very long time. One of those individuals on the Democrat side wants to be the next president. He's wanted to be the next president for a long time, and that's Gavin Newsom. And I think he's reading the tea leaves because he says that, he understands that if you've been there too long, especially if you're a white male, you might have a target on your back. So he's combated this new talking point with a new talking point where he is now labeling himself as the established insurgent.
I think what's happening is there's just a desire for change. I think this notion of insurgency over incumbency is the real message here. And people just want fighters. They want people with conviction, strength, clarity, people that get it, want to get things done, and they're done with the status quo. And I totally respect that. I've long felt like I've been an established insurgent. I've always had that mindset. I've been in elected office a long time, but I've never been naive about people's desire for change, including my own desire for change.
Established insurgent. Hey, you know what? Credit where credit's due. Heck of a talking point. I'm with you. I'm just the established insurgent. Joe in Spring Hill, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Chris, good morning. I think it was Gutfeld. He had the best line ever. He's like, whenever Gavin Newsom talks with his posturing and gesturing, it almost looks like he's negotiating with a deaf prostitute. And I just always got a kick out of that line. And I got to tell you, if he does run for president, his wife, that's the gift that keeps on giving right there.
Lying.
You put a microphone unscripted in front of her, and boy, do you got some material right there.
They've moved her away from the press recently. Have you noticed that? They've gotten her away from every microphone within a 50-foot radius.
Oh, exactly. A couple of her interviews were just really, it was fun to listen to. And I wanted to tie that directly into the point I was going to make. You just brought Gavin Newsom up. It's amazing at the end of the day what all these people will do to sell their soul for the almighty dollar. And think about this across the board, whether it's Mrs. Newsom with her I use air quotes, non-profit, whether it's these sick people in the medical industry that are doing it just for money. And like you said, the mental manipulation where you get parents in an office and you're telling them that if you don't do this, your kid's going to off himself. That is just so demonic in nature that someone of a professional that's taken, I think it's called the Hippocratic Oath or whatever. It should be the hypocritical oath at the end of the day. But they've taken an oath to protect you and this and that. And that's the conversations they're having with the parents. And go one beyond that, go back to the COVID thing with Fauci and everything else. It was always about the almighty dollar.
Yep.
And I got a kick out of it last weekend. I was watching Trading Places, and Eddie Murphy says in that movie, he goes, it occurs to me the best way to hurt rich people is to make them into poor people. And I thought about that, and I'm like, if you took Fauci and you took all these doctors and you were to just, like you said, prison time, for massacring children, but if we were to seize their assets, whether it's them or, whether it's the Ilhan Omars or the Ayanna Presleys or Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, all these people that became multi-millionaires off a $175,000 a year salary. If we were to take their money from them, where would that leave them? That would be the worst punishment of all, I think.
You might be right. You might be right.
And the only other point I wanted to make real quick, Chris, was, we hear about Trump. I voted for Trump 3 times. He's my guy. Always loved him. The only thing that I wish was better right now, being a small business owner, is the price at the pump. And the thing that bums me out about that is going into the 2024 election, my number one issue as a person almost 60 and being a small business owner, my number one issue was energy independence. I didn't want our country to be dependent upon people that absolutely despise us.
Yep.
And from what I hear now, we're producing more than ever and we're exporting more than ever. And okay, that's all great and all, but at the end of the day, I wish that was reflected at the pump. Now, I know people tell me, oh, Joe, it's done on a global scale. Well, I guess I'm too dumb to know what that is because that doesn't change the numbers I see at the pump.
Yeah.
That was all I had for you. That was all I had for you today, Chris. I wanted to thank you for taking my call. Make sure you stay cool and hydrated during this heat wave. And as always, say hi to your mother for me.
Say hi to your mother for me, Joe. Appreciate you, Joe. Classic. He brought up Siebel Newsom, though. You know that Gavin Newsom's wife has been paying herself huge sums of money pushing woke, transgender, and sexuality films on kids?
Shocker.
She's raking up to $300,000 annually on her Board of Ed recommended Siebel Newsom's films and controversial health education guidance since 2019. She leaned on her powerful hubby and his education board push to push preachy flicks about toxic masculinity in classrooms. He's right. Joe was right when he said that she's the gift that keeps on giving if he runs for president. I don't think he makes it. Right now, the Polymarket odds actually have AOC in the lead as the Democrat nominee for president in 2028. But this is Siebel Newsom. She is a liability.
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off. I've given them dolls.
It's a little psychotic, right? It's like...
To learn that care and caregiving is not just an activity that's reserved for women, but that it's also an activity that is a responsibility of men. What I've done with both my daughters and my sons is if I'm reading a book and the protagonist is a male, I just change the he to a she. And it just normalizes for my sons in particular. I don't even just do it for my girls. I do it for my sons because I want them to see that women can be the center of a story, that women matter, that women are interesting. At the end of the day, we're all kind of like in this place in history maybe where we're recognizing what it is to ultimately deconstruct all these gender roles and ultimately be human. And that's exciting to me. So, I'll just continue to kind of do my work and try and deconstruct all of these like limiting narratives about ultimately what it means to be human.
So brave. So stunning. Again, it's not an ideology shift. The ideology has been there with these Democrats for a very, very long time. It is a strategy shift. It is a message delivery shift. But we know who they are because they've told us. We got more on the way. Stephen Miller weighs in on all these socialists. It's 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. If your HVAC is not working this weekend, you should make this call today to my guys at Busy Bee. Kids are going back to school. Busy Bee has back-to-school savings for you. Some of the best offers of the season. You schedule that HVAC maintenance or complete any HVAC repair, you'll get a free dryer vent cleaning. That's an added safety and one less thing on your to-do list. And if you need a new HVAC system, you purchase that high-efficiency HVAC unit, and you'll be entered to win Busy Bee's Healthy Hive giveaway, a $1,500 sponsorship for the local school of your choice. Imagine how much of a hero you'd be coming in with $1,500 worth of tissues just in your hands, and the good ones, with the lotion, with the aloe, with the Vicks Vapor Rub, all this stuff. You're going to be a hero just by getting a new HVAC unit. And while you're at it, renew or get yourself a Beehive Club membership. Then you can gift that to a teacher, a faculty member, or a staff member at the school of your choice. If you need major plumbing work, you get a $500 gift card with qualifying whole home repipes or mainline replacements. And as always, with approved credit, 0% financing for 18 months. 615-775-7833. That's the number for Busy Bee. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
The guaranteed offer is the simplest, least stressful way to sell your home. You go to our website, you fill out a quick form, we set an appointment, we bring you an all-cash offer. Literally, there's no lockbox on the front of your house, there's no showings, we pay all cash, we close in as little as 21 days, stress-free. We've helped thousands of homeowners just like you sell your home the hassle-free way with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
Why a Hickman County mother and daughter team are under arrest. That story's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones back in the newsroom down there in Jonestown. She loves it. She loves it in Jonestown.
Big Kool-Aid fan.
Huge. It's the number
This hot
one
weather.
Number one, yeah, especially in hot weather. Number one Kool-Aid area in all of Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
down there in Jonestown. Joan, do me a favor. Say nothing if you agree. Thank you.
Big fan.
Huge. You think she just gets up and walks away after the tease?
I think so.
I should start doing that more when she's in Jonestown. Joan, if you think, how about this? Joan, if you enjoy being on my show more than Mandis's, say nothing. Thank you, Joan.
That silence speaks volumes.
It does. It's deafening. The silence is deafening. We got a lot to get to. I was gonna do I was gonna do the Stephen Miller stuff, and I will. But before I do that, I found Kamala Harris on a podcast with Stacey Abrams, the rightful governor of Georgia, bigot. So
stupid.
You stupid bigot. So, obviously when they're there, they got to outwoke each other. Okay, so they start really going back and forth at who can be the wokest. I'll let you decide when we get back. I have the audio. Who's woker? The rightful governor of Georgia, or the best female vice president we've ever had? We'll decide next. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and we are looking at a brutal hot trend for the next couple of days. Here's Stefano at Channel 4.
Both days this upcoming weekend, extreme heat and humidity are expected to continue now all the way through Monday. So those first alert weather days, they continue for us.
The heat index reaching 115 in some areas today. Could be even hotter Saturday and Sunday. In Hickman County, a mother and daughter are under arrest after police discovered a hellscape for animals at their home. News 2's Jaxie Pigeon has more.
Investigators say 9 dogs were found locked inside crates inside a tiny home on the property. Outside, goats, chickens, and more dogs were starving with little food or water. Deputies also say they discovered 5 dead cats and several dog carcasses buried or hidden in boxes. Haley Kozilak and her mother, Angie Kozilak, were both arrested.
Police are trying to find homes for the surviving animals. Some scary moments for passengers on a United Airlines flight out of O'Hare Airport, forced to deplane on the runway after the plane's tires blew out during takeoff. This happened yesterday. All 161 passengers and crew made it out safely and boarded another plane last night. And forget back to school season. Major retailers are already rolling out their Halloween displays.
Costco, Target, Walmart, CVS, and Home Depot launching their Halloween products in-store or online, selling costumes, decor, and candy. The pop-up store Spirit Halloween tells us that 5,000 people attended its flagship store opening in New Jersey on August 1st, and more than half of its 1,500 locations are already open nationwide.
ABC's Elizabeth Schultze. That's the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Preparing to sell your home can be costly and time-consuming. Skip the hassles of a traditional home sale and sell your home stress-free with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Call 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Did you see these people in Washington, D.C. and their stupid chant?
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So here's why this is dumb. Because Donald Trump sending in the National Guard is to stop the murders. Donald Trump is actually saving lives. Over the last 2.5 years, they have had 561 black people murdered in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump is sending in the National Guard to stop the crime. So Donald Trump is actually saving black lives.
36 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. What's the name of Stacey Abrams' podcast? Do you know? So, like, Rightful Govcast?
I don't know if I want that in my search history.
I'm going to put it in mine. It's Stacey Abrams, not Abraham. Stacey Abrams podcast. All right, let's check out the digits on this thing, all right? Ugh, yuck. It's called Assembly Required.
Blech.
Like, what? That's a weird name. She's doing decent numbers. Decent enough, I guess. She had 13,000 views from the podcast with Kamala Harris that came out yesterday.
How many subscribers?
She's got 95,000. So the ratio's way off.
It's a little lackluster.
264 videos. Hold on. You ready? You ready for the description?
Hit me.
This is the description on what the podcast is all about.
Allegedly.
I'm going to need some sad violin for the description. I'm just going to let you know right now. I'm waiting. Okay. Well, okay. Are you just clicking buttons back there now? Is that what we're doing?
I just felt like this fit better.
Okay. No. Trust me. This doesn't need sad violin. Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams. Description. Let's face it. Sometimes the world feels broken. We can see what needs fixing, yet more and more, it feels like the problems are too big and the bad guys are winning. But the truth is, they're not. They're just hoping we stop fighting. Welcome to Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams, a new podcast from Crooked Media and Democrat changemaker Stacey Abrams. Stacey knows better than anyone that societal shifts happen when a group of ordinary people decide that a problem is solvable and are willing to pitch in and work towards the solution. Each week, Stacey will break down the biggest issues we face into digestible, actionable items. Introduce us to the warriors for good, already working towards solutions, strategize, and share tangible ways to get involved. That's what we got. What do you think? You gonna subscribe? You gonna like and subscribe?
Right to jail, right away.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So I didn't know this was a thing. I was unaware. I was undereducated.
Ill-informed.
I was not aware that the bad guys aren't winning. Are we the bad guys? If we're the bad guys, I want to be like a Razor Ramon kind of bad guy, Chico, you know? Pretty cool. So that's just me.
The bad guy that the good guys kind of still like.
You know what I mean? Like the bad guy's like, all right, he's pretty sick.
That's pretty cool.
So we're the bad guys, in case you weren't paying attention, you bigots. And Kamala Harris, one of the good guys. Right? That's what's implied. She doesn't have the bad guys on. She has the good guys on.
How about new?
I'm just trying to read the tea leaves here. So Kamala Harris is the good guy.
Nope.
Stacey Abrams is also a good guy.
Nope.
And that's what people think. Obviously. All 13,000 of them that watch this episode. And what's the wolves in white coats? What's their view count at? Okay, they're at like 3,500 views in 2 hours.
That's pretty good for 2 hours.
Pretty good for 2 hours. This is at 13,000 views, 24 hours. So the good guys are getting the views. And I'm reading the clips, or I'm not reading the clips. I'm watching the clips last night. And I just found myself being like, is this just like the woke Olympics? Am I woker than you, or are you woker than me? Because this is what we get when the good guys are working towards digestible, actionable items with tangible solutions. You ready? You ready for what that sounds like?
that part of the pain of this moment, Stacey, is these so-called leaders who are pushing this kind of this narrative about who is a legitimate American citizen among American citizens.
Yeah.
This blood and soil narrative that's being pushed at the highest levels of our government to suggest that, once again, to harken back to times when it was explicit that there was a hierarchy among Americans and who was superior and whom was inferior, all citizens. And that's what's happening, right?
Got it. So we're just racist. We're racist, stupid bigots because why? We thought that the Haitians that came here on temporary protected status should be temporary because the foreigners that came here and refused to assimilate to Western culture and love the Constitution perhaps shouldn't be here. We're racist bigots because Kamala, as the borders are, let in 20 million illegal aliens at least over the course of her tenure there. And we realize that there's no way that they can assimilate, that we're racist bigots. It's blood and soil narrative. There's a hierarchy. Here's where Stacey Abrams comes in. This one actually bugs me, and it's probably going to bug you too. It's like low key, but she basically says everyone in the South is a racist.
And I know you've been spending a lot of time in the South recently.
Yeah.
You've been to Tennessee and Louisiana and North Carolina.
Yeah.
And what I tell people when they want to understand what authoritarianism can look like in the U.S., I say look south. We have lived under soft authoritarianism, I would say, since 1776.
Okay. Calm down. Chill out. Yes, were there slaves in the South? Sure. Yes. There's also a lot of, I don't know if you knew this, a lot of white guys fought in the Civil War to free slaves. The South is a racist place, guys. Everybody knows that. If you don't know that, you might be a racist. I actually find it funny because when I grew up in Boston, right? Like right outside of Boston. And the first place I moved to after leaving Boston was Richmond. And then I've lived in Tennessee, obviously, and I've spent we spent a lot of time in North Carolina. I've been around the South, right? Up north is way more racist. Just like objectively, way more racist. It's just not even up for debate. Michigan, there was more racism. Massachusetts, there was more racism. Pennsylvania, there was more racism than I've ever encountered in Tennessee or North Carolina or Virginia. And that's not to say that I encountered a lot, but I'm just so you know. And a lot of it goes back to these bigotry of low expectations that we get from these liberals who think that they know better than everybody, and that the only possible way that a black person could ever succeed is if a white liberal helps them because they're too stupid, too dumb, too weak to be able to do it on their own. And I reject those notions. And I feel like a lot of people in the South reject those notions. But up north, that ideology dominates. It's kind of the mess we're in now. I don't know. Who's more woke? Probably Kamala Harris. And she once again takes the mask off and she lets everybody know what exactly the plans are of the Democrats should they ever regain power. And it's getting rid of the Electoral College and packing the Supreme Court and D.C. and Puerto Rico as states and pathway to citizenship for all of the illegal aliens.
Structural change. I think we need to revisit the efficacy of the Electoral College. I think we need to expand the Supreme Court and look at reforms. So much of what we are dealing with right now, back to the point of just a violation of civil rights and all that your parents and mine fought for, the Supreme Court decisions by this court that was basically at this point hand-selected by Donald Trump. Structural.
Yeah, got it. So get rid of everything that's worked for, since the founding of the country, essentially. Got it. Cool. That's cool. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to be the president. She's definitely going to run, right? Like, she's absolutely going to run. Gavin Newsom is absolutely going to run. Again, the current leader, according to the Polymarket odds for 2028 for the Democrat nominee for president, is none other than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. Stephen Miller went berserk on the AOC types of the world, the Kamala Harris types of the world, the Gavin Newsoms, these elite liberals who laugh off the dangers of the woke ideology.
Of the so-called woke ideology that the left launched in 2020 in earnest and throughout these last number of years, although of course its ideological roots of Marxism and anti-Americanism and communism and third worldism all of course significantly predate that. What was one of its core tenets? The dismantlement, destruction, and defunding of our police departments. That policy objective, which remains in force in every blue city today, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, and New York, an unrelenting war against police. The result, the wages of that policy, were a historic increase in murders until President Trump came along. A historic increase in shootings, dead bodies, drug overdoses, gangs run amok, citizens living in fear, public spaces ceded to violent, thuggish, armed robbers.
He's right. And in a lot of places where Donald Trump and Republicans have taken control, you've seen a lot of those numbers drop. I mean, we look no further than Memphis. You can look at Washington, D.C. But in places where the liberals still control and hang on to with that stranglehold, like Chicago, Chicago has more murders this year so far than every major city in Florida combined. That's crazy. And on top of that, the strictest, toughest gun laws in the entire country.
That was the policy. We're all going to have a good laugh about that. Sorry your husband was murdered. Sorry your mom was killed. Sorry your loved ones are 6 feet under the ground now. We're going to have a good laugh about that? It's sickening. It's disgusting. And the thing is, it never stopped. Look here in Washington, D.C. You just did a segment on the 1-year anniversary of President Trump's D.C. Safe initiative, where he achieved the largest ever reduction of violent crime, not only in the history of this city, but the history of any city. Nowhere has violent crime fallen so steeply, so quickly, so totally. He had to fight Democrats tooth and nail to reduce murders in this city. He had to fight and is still fighting a city council that at every turn has sided with violent career criminals over police officers. A city council and Democrat allies in Congress that believe if a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old commits a shooting with a gun, firing, spraying bullets on an open street, that they shouldn't even face adult criminal punishment.
Yeah, it's crazy. Stephen Miller, absolute beast. You can hear the anger in his voice, and it's because he's fighting this fight every single day, and he sees the opposition from those on the left. He went on to say, what do these woke socialists all have in common? Like you know, you look at the big tent, they're all talking about the big tent when they're trying to talk away the dangers of these socialists. Okay, well, what do they have in common with the liberals? That none of them build anything.
And Democrat allies in Congress that believe if a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old commits a shooting with a gun, firing, spraying bullets on an open street, that they shouldn't even face adult criminal punishment. They should be deposited right back out onto the street, maybe dropped in a halfway house for a couple months to kill or maim or shoot or rape. That's their ideology. That's their philosophy. Because when you strip away all this woke labeling, it's hatred for America, and it's hatred for the people who have made America great. It's hatred for the people who build and sustain things. Look at all of these DSA candidates. Look at all of these radical left ideologues. Look at everyone who proposes all these different woke ideas. What do they have in common? It's a people and a movement who can't build anything. This is a movement. It never ends with the cathedral. It never ends with the bridge. It never ends with the brand new airport. It never ends with a secure border. It never ends with a gleaming community. It never ends with a functional school system. It never ends with a beautiful, gorgeous park. It never even ends with a presidential library that you can look at and not feel disgust like the Obama library. It's an ideology that looks at what civilization built and is envious and hateful and jealous and says, I will take, I will steal, I will dismantle, I will destroy, and I will redistribute everything that you have built to people who don't belong here and have no right to be here.
Big promises from the left always equal big disappointment. If I was going to shorten that into 10 seconds, big promises equal big disappointment. It's 10:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Times are tough. Absolutely, I agree. Now, if you need a new truck or a minivan, maybe an SUV, Mid-10 Ford, they can help you out with great selection, terrific pricing as well. Mid-10 Ford, they've been around for 56 years, since 1969, helping people get the vehicle that is right for them. They can help you save $1,000 or more on select Ford trucks. They also offer special financing as well if you need it. Now, Mid-10 Ford, I like to say that they're a one-stop shop. You can buy your vehicle there at Mid-10 Ford. You can get it serviced. They have a body shop as well. So you want a brand new or a pre-owned vehicle, you can check out all of the great deals at their website, mid10fordtrucks.com. That's mid10fordtrucks.com. They offer low-pressure sales, maximum customer service if you show up at their business, 1319 Foster Avenue. This is a family-owned business going back 4 generations. So, yeah, they do know how to treat customers. So let them help you get into your next vehicle. Again, low-pressure sales, maximum customer service. Find them online, mid10fordtrucks.com. That's mid10fordtrucks.com. Let their family take care of your family.
All right, drivers, we've got a crash blocking the right 2 lanes of 65 southbound in Brentwood. It's going to be right before Old Hickory Boulevard. The stop and go starts at Armory Drive. It is a 37-minute delay there south of downtown Nashville. We've also got Luigi Mangione pleading guilty today to 2 federal charges involved in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. I got the very latest on that and more top stories at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Has the weather changed? Is it going to rain tomorrow?
I don't know, brother Hand. If we get some, it may dry up before it hits the ground, my friend. It's so freaking hot out there.
We got a double baseball tournament tomorrow in Shelbyville.
Oh, brother. Oh, brother.
I know. I told my wife, I was like, just stay home.
Heat advisory.
I was like, this is just going to be the boys tomorrow, Mom.
Absolutely. Mama needs to stay in the AC. That is for sure.
100%. And then we got a lot of baseball. They did something nice for me, though.
All right.
They said, don't worry. We'll start 2 hours earlier. I was like, oh. So I just have to get up a little bit earlier than I do for work. And they're like, that's it. That's it.
That's all we're asking for.
Just less sleep, and it'll still be really hot.
It's perfect.
So you'll be crotchety and burning up.
So it is funny, though. Like, the kids get in there, and they're, like, raring to go.
Yeah.
And then, like, by the second game, the kids are over it.
Yeah.
And then by the third game, like, all the parents, we start looking at each other like, can we start rooting against them? Is that okay? You guys want to go sit with the other team? We'll just, you want to Pete Rose this thing? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Can we turn the sprinklers on and just have them play in the mud?
Yeah, let's
mutual anger at the sun.
Can we do that? I might go full old man with an umbrella tomorrow to create
a bucket
my
of
own
water
shade.
balloons.
You know,
throw them at the kids.
Now,
Oh,
brother
water
Chris,
balloons, that'd
just
be
get you a
fun.
big old straw hat, man.
Ooh, don't tempt me with a good time.
Get a Chinese cone hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very nice. All right, yeah, we got a lot to get to. I haven't talked about the school stuff, and I feel like it's important to talk about the school stuff.
It's a big deal.
We got school rolling everywhere, and we got some local stories coming out of Metro that are not good. I don't know how to describe this other than not good. There's a massive scandal unfolding in Nashville where a teacher says she was ordered to fabricate grades to give a passing grade to failing students. And we've had education problems in Metro Nashville for a while. But we thought it was getting better. Was it getting better, or were they just cheating the system, is becoming the question that we have now. Plus, I got some other stories. It's basically the next segment's just going to be an advertisement for homeschooling. And I mentioned this earlier in the show while we were kind of setting the table in the first segment. If you feel like you have it on your heart to homeschool your kids, it is not as hard as you think it is. My wife and I were talking last night, and to be fair, she does the brunt of the homeschooling. I jump in. I'm like the bag man. I assist every now and again, and I'm the sixth man of the year. I come off the bench when they need me. But we were talking last night, and she was like, yeah, we're, because they're getting ready to start. And she was like, this would be so much harder if we were in regular school.
Yeah.
Because at least when we were at a private school, the amount of homework that we were doing, it's pretty equivalent to the homeschooling that we're doing. So if you feel it on your heart, man, I'm gonna let you know it's easier than you think it is. And if you've never thought about homeschooling, I guarantee you after the next segment, you're gonna be thinking about homeschooling. I got one. There's a non-binary teacher. Non-binary. She doesn't go by Mr. She doesn't go by Mrs. She just goes by Chase. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Not banking there anymore.
Then I got this video, and she's like, I started a new thing where I emailed all the parents to let them know my pronouns because I think I should be educating the parents too. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Good grief.
Wait until you hear this. I'll play it next. It's 11:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, drivers, we've got a 35-minute delay southbound on 65 through Brentwood. It's because of a crash blocking the right two lanes right before Old Hickory Boulevard. The brake tap and stop and go starts right about Armory Drive. Also in Donaldson, a crash, Elm Hill Pike at Briley Parkway. Heat advisory until Sunday night. Feels like temperatures reaching 105 and above. Right now in Nashville, we've got 91 degrees over at the airport, and the heat index is 99, and it's still morning time. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Luigi Mangione pleading guilty today to 2 federal stalking charges. Prosecutors say he tracked down and then fatally shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a Manhattan sidewalk in 2024. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers.
The state case, he's accused of second-degree murder. In the federal case, there were other charges that prosecutors tried to bring in the beginning of all of this. But then through this process, the judge allowed these 2 counts. So it does appear that he is pleading guilty to the indictment as it stands, just those 2 stalking counts.
So right now in Nashville, an award-winning former MNPS teacher is speaking out after resigning from the district, claiming student discipline problems are being underreported. Samira Hardcastle, former Teacher of the Year at John F. Kennedy Middle School, told the school board teachers are discouraged from reporting some behavioral incidents. She argues the practice creates a misleading picture of improving student behavior. Metro Nashville Public Schools disputes the allegations and says it has no evidence teachers are being prevented from reporting incidents. And the Williamson County Sheriff's Office is warning the public about a compromised county email account. Officials say fraudulent messages are being sent from the email account of employee Vicky Pettinger. The emails reference the word encrypted and ask recipients to enter a code. The Sheriff's Office says do not click links, open attachments, reply, or provide any information while IT staff work to resolve that issue. And the company behind more than 120,000 license plate tracking cameras nationwide is promising major changes after a report found police officers have been using the cameras to stalk women. ABC's Hannah Battah reports.
Flock cameras automatically photograph every passing car into a database police can search with no warrant needed. The Washington Post reports at least 50 officers have been accused of misusing plate readers, many of them to spy on their wives, their girlfriends, and their exes. A police chief in Georgia allegedly searched his ex-girlfriend's plate and her teenage daughter's roughly 600 times.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. I first caught wind of this story on the Tennessee Star, and then I saw it also going super viral on X via Libs of TikTok. Ken Weaver was just talking about it in the newscast. An award-winning teacher making her case to the Metro Nashville Public School Board of Education on Tuesday after resigning in May, claiming she was asked to fabricate grades for a student in order to appease a parent. And her remarks surfaced days after a New York educator received national media attention after raising similar concerns in a viral video, reports the Tennessee Star. This is wild. Okay, so the teacher is Mrs. Hardcastle, and she was a 2025 Teacher of the Year. And it really is wild. Let's play her comments from the school board meeting. It's about 2 minutes long, but I think it's worth it for everyone to hear.
I was Teacher of the Year at John F. Kennedy Middle School in Antioch this past year, and Blue Ribbon Teacher of the Year for the district. What you have in front of you right now is my resignation letter. I resigned in May. You can read those 3 pages at your leisure, but I've heard a lot of positive data in this meeting, and I just wanted to give you some facts from my firsthand experience. So first, district leaders asked me to fabricate grades for a parent who sat in the office for hours until her daughter's failing grades were changed. It creates false entitlement. What happens when these kids lie, cheat, and cry their way through school and end up as future doctors, police, or politicians?
Well, I think that they would continue to lie, cheat, and cry their way through that as well.
When will you protect the future of our society? Second, that same parent has harassed over 30 teachers. Teachers have filed police reports, and entire school districts have had, or entire schools have had restraining orders against her. Yet she's still allowed on school property, showing up to field trips her child didn't earn, and filming other students. When will you stop prioritizing parents' feelings over the safety of our teachers and our students? I heard you also mention that we're closing gaps in teacher vacancies. I want the public to know that many of those are filled with uncertified teachers. My third point, HR withheld money from my employee paycheck as well as many others. They took $500 from me specifically, and it put me behind on my mortgage. And then they sent out an email saying that they had to do it to pay other employees. When will you pay teachers what they are owed? My fourth point, the news reports that behavioral issues are down. They are not. We are simply banned from reporting them, forcing us to keep disruptive students in the classroom. Statistics are being skewed to protect the district, not our children. Our children cannot read and write. They cannot do basic math. And we spend 40 hours a week with these students, so we know them better than the district and those fake numbers. Please stop undermining our professional decisions, because honestly, it's breaking the efficiency and it's giving HOA quality. So, Dr. Battle, my question to you.
Thank you.
Dr. Battle, my question to you. Thank you. Moving on. Again, Hardcastle was named the Metro Nashville Public Schools Teacher of the Year earlier this year. In 2025, she was chosen for the Blue Ribbon Teacher Award by the district. She had a question. She got cut off. If they're not going to listen to the Teacher of the Year, if they're not going to listen to a Blue Ribbon teacher, who are they going to listen to? Who? According to Metro Nashville Public Schools, the award is reserved for 25 outstanding teachers who are changing lives through their excellence in teaching within the district. This is from the Tennessee Star. Hardcastle previously created a petition to urge the district to establish new paths to support teachers, accountability measures for administrators, compensation based on educational expertise, enforceable behavioral codes for parents, and more clearly defined job descriptions. The video of Hardcastle's remarks surfaced days after another video has gone viral, mega viral. Darius Williams. I have that here as well. Darius Williams he's a teacher, and he's crying on camera because nobody can read. This is a high school teacher. He says none of these kids can read. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think that it's a little bit performative because he's a grown man and he's crying on social media. Maybe I'm just being a little hard on him. You know,
if those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
But he's crying. He's crying. And I think it's a little performative. I think he could have got the message across without crying. Maybe it wouldn't have gone as viral. Maybe there's a thought process behind it. This was his message.
These kids are leaving high school and going to college, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I literally broke down in the middle of class. This is only day 2. And I have seniors who simply cannot read and seniors who cannot write. They can reason. They have the ability to defend their reasoning if it's talking to their homeboy, but applying that to a written text, 2 paragraphs, and they couldn't do it. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls.
And that's where the video cuts off. So why aren't we helping the kids? I mean, honestly, why are these schools so disastrous? Why are there no behavioral standards? Why aren't the kids that are disrupting the classroom removed from the classroom? I mean, seriously. Why is this being treated like a daycare and not a school? How are these kids getting this far where you're getting to high school and you're realizing they can't read? Why wasn't this caught in, I don't know, 2nd grade? 1st grade? Why is this culture of failure allowed to thrive? And why does it seem to really be happening in big blue liberal cities where they claim to care so much about the inner city youth, but they don't give them the tools to succeed in life? It's almost like they have them on the treadmill of mediocrity, the pipeline to prison, and they just don't give a damn. Now, some teachers do. That guy obviously cares. But this story is repeated over and over and over again. And people will say public schools are failing. I'm going to homeschool. Oh, gosh. Aren't you worried that your kids are going to be weird because you're homeschooling them? It's like, well, they'll be able to read. They'll be able to write. And have you seen public school lately? Maybe, just maybe, that's the best path forward. This is another teacher. She's talking about 9th graders in this clip.
Explain the response I'm supposed to have when a 9th grade student asks me, what is the first month of the year? And I say, what do you mean the first month? Because you're not asking what I think you're asking. And they say, well, on this worksheet, it says, what was the world's population at the beginning of the year? I don't remember. What's the first month? How am I supposed to type that in?
What's the first month of the year? What's the first month of the year?
Because all I could do was turn my head and go back to my computer and keep typing. I literally just ignored it. Because I can't say what a ridiculous, probably the stupidest question I've ever had in my life. And I can't say, oh, that's okay. You remember January, February, because you are 15 years old. And that was not the only student that asked me that question. What do you mean the beginning of the year? And some of them were like, oh, you mean like January 1st? Why do I have to say January 1st? The beginning of the year. That is universally understood as January 1st. Another question on their assignment was, what was the world population the day you were born? And what was the world population on your first birthday? And then they had to find the difference. The fact that I'd probably say half of my classes were asking me, what do you mean by our first birthday? And I'm like, your first birthday. And I had a girl say, I've never had a birthday. She's like, I never had a first birthday. And I'm like, yes, you have. You had a second birthday and a third birthday and a fourth birthday. You're 15. Even when I said, because it's not a confusion problem, because even when I said, okay, when you turned 1, I have students that were like, well, if I was born in 2010, when would that be? And it was almost like they were guessing with me. They'd be like 2011, 2012. Why are you unsure? I just think with the cognitive level that our students are at, I think the most bare minimum rule that you can have today is no phones in your classroom, because they are not prepared to be able to multitask in that way.
Obviously. But this is what we're up against. And, you know, I wish that maybe we could just focus on the basics. I wish that we could focus on the reading, writing, arithmetic, days of the week, months of the year. Like there should be a minimum standard. It doesn't seem like there's any standards at all, and that's heartbreaking. But what we do have time for are pronouns, gender theory, victim mentality, and the like. And I got another. This one. I mean, this is if you want a homeschooling ad.
My name is Chase.
This is a homeschooling ad. I'm going to turn that down because Chase's voice is different. Chase is a female who looks like she's transitioning into a male, but she says that she's neither. And this is teaching kids in high school.
My name is Chase, and I am a butch, non-binary high school teacher. And this is my plan for back to school this year.
Now, as this person goes through the plan for back to school this year, take note, none of it is making sure the kids can read, write, know the first month of the year, any of that. It has something completely to do with things that are outside of the curriculum.
The first thing I'm doing this year is I'm just going by Chase. No Mrs., Mr., Mix, like just Chase. And I did it last year and it went great. And none of my students cared at all. None of the administration cared at all. So I'm planning on just doing that again this year. Something I'm doing this upcoming year that I didn't do last year is I think I'm just going to send an introduction email to all of my students and all of their parents, just saying my name, my pronouns, a little bit about my background and why it's important to me. I know that not every single parent is going to understand and not every single parent is going to care or be respectful, but I think my job as a teacher is to educate people, and if that means I get to educate the parents too, awesome.
How about your job as a teacher is to focus on the kids, not yourself? Nobody cares about you. You will be forgotten, like many of the teachers that we all had. There are going to be some great teachers that you remember for the rest of your life. But for the majority of the teachers, you're going to forget about them. You're going to move on because you are not the star of this movie. You are a supporting character. And to make it all about you before the first day of school, we're already off on the wrong path. But I'm going to educate the parents too. Awesome.
The third thing I'm doing this year is a pronoun lesson. I'm doing it day 1. I just tell my students that I'm non-binary. I use they, them pronouns, and that what non-binary means to me is that I'm not really a boy or a girl. I'm kind of...
I think the fact that we're hiring people like this in the school system in the country is part of the issue. That might be controversial. I think that's part of the issue. These people with this main character syndrome, that's like, you're not helping the kids. What are you teaching? You're posting this video online. I don't even know what subject you teach. I know that you're going to teach them about your pronouns. I know that you're going to tell them that you're a butch non-binary. That's great, stunning, brave. Slow clap. How does that help the kids become great adults? Because there's kids in this country that can't read and write. And you can say all the things you want. Well, some of these schools don't have money. Some of these schools don't have the budget. I don't think you really need much of a budget to teach kids how to read and write. Is that also controversial? Maybe that's also controversial. I don't think you do. I think you can get by with very little money and still have a pretty good education system if you apply it the correct way. This ain't it.
Kind of just doing my own thing. And a lot of them really get it. My students last year would correct each other when they messed up my pronouns. So I'm kind of just hoping for the same thing this year. I am excited for back to school.
Gross. Nathan in Gallatin. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm fine, brother. How about yourself?
I'm good. What do you got?
Well, so I quit teaching after 17 years this past year, and Metro broke my back and broke my heart, man.
Tell me why.
I've taught special education, and then I switched the last 2 years to general education. And I'm not going to name the school, but I was a 4th grade math teacher, and just behavior was rampant. I signed up to, teach hard. My background is in, childhood trauma, child psychology, and dealing with students with behavioral issues. And again, I signed up for hard. I knew these kids were going to be hard. I didn't sign up for adults fighting me against change and holding students accountable and setting boundaries. And it was so hard. But a couple in really bad instances. The first one, I had a student that put his hands on me multiple times, and then the last time,
And this is fourth. This is fourth grade.
Fourth grade, yes.
That's crazy.
Not a special ed student. Student put his hands on me. Last time he closed fist punched me in the hallway. It was on cameras. They wouldn't do a thing. So I went and filed an assault charge at the police station, and was kind of chided a little bit for doing that. And I was like, well, you guys aren't doing anything, and I need it documented. And in case, something happens down the road and blah, blah, blah. Of course, got no phone call from Metro PD about it or anything like that. And had it out with the parent. It was quite ridiculous. And this was an alarm I was raising in November, and it finally come to a head, and they removed the child at the end of March finally from my class.
That's crazy. How many kids are you coming across in your time in fourth grade that just couldn't read or write?
Most of it was going to be students that haven't been in the States very long, but read or write at a proficient level was very difficult. I would say maybe 15% at most.
I mean, that still seems way too high.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, at most, it was like 15%.
And when you say most of the kids that couldn't read or write are kids that haven't been in the States very long, you're talking about immigrants, whether you say illegal or legal, whatever. How much does that hold a classroom back?
Oh, a lot. I mean, well, and partly too, the school that I was in, they were having issues with the school psychologist. I mean, and to be honest, again, background was childhood psychology and special education, and then I moved to regular education. I could easily see where, if tested, half of the entire fourth grade that I was at could possibly qualify for a reading or some kind of specific learning disability. But they wouldn't do that because they said, oh, we're just comparing them to their peers, and then we're only going to take the lowest percentage and then give them services.
So these kids aren't getting the help they need.
No, and they're getting passed along. But part of and this whole grading thing too, I was never told I had to change grades. Of course, they said, oh, you need to possibly consider doing this. And I told them, I was like, look, when you hire me, I'm not giving grades. Like, kids get what they earn. And then that was something that I taught year round. I was like, hey guys, I love you. And like some of my most well-behaved students, I would have conversations with them. It's like, look, the grade isn't a reflection of who you are as a person. It's just where we're performing at now. And constantly having to reinforce that. But the biggest red flag for me, and what really killed it for me last year and quitting teaching, I had a student bring a weapon. And this was in October. The kid ditched a knife, brought it, flashed it at some other kids, said he brought it for protection. So there's intention there. And whenever I went to go find the knife, it was kind of swept underneath the rug. State law dictates that says any persons that brings a weapon onto premises is subject to prosecution, right?
Yep.
And they didn't even have the sign at the front of the school. And I had an assistant director of the school, so one person, one step below battle. Like, whenever I confronted her about, like, why didn't this student get more than just 2 days of in-school suspension? That's it. That's all this student got. Nobody was notified. No other teachers were notified. No other parents were notified of the threat. Any cops weren't called. They didn't even call the school security.
That's crazy.
They handled everything in-house, and it all come down directly from the Board of Education, specifically this one person named Dr. Baird, and step below Dr. Battle. And then whenever I had her in a one-on-one conversation, I told her, well, what was the reasoning behind that? She said, well, he had no intent. And I said, no, he said he brought it for protection. That is intent.
Yep.
And she was like, well, protection from who? And then she goes on to proceed to tell me that this isn't the only case like this. Like,
that makes it better.
And she said, we frequently give these things. We've had students bring guns, and they had no intent to hurt anybody, but they had guns. and they got the same punishment. So we've got a very rich problem. And I said, well, this is when we're going to have another school shooting and the blood's on your hands. And her direct quote to me was, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Wow. Okay, so I have two questions for you, and I am up against it, and I want to put you on hold because I want to get your information. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you think that the majority of these kids are on a pipeline to poverty or a pipeline to prison?
At my particular school, yes. It was one of the hardest schools in Metro as far as elementary school goes. And the year before, 2 years ago, or 2 Aprils ago, one of the janitors was stabbed in the parking lot and killed before school started.
Jesus.
And it had nothing to do with the students, but it was still an employee of the school stabbed in the parking lot and killed.
That's crazy. Do you think Adrienne Battle should still have her job?
Absolutely not. And they are sweeping stuff underneath the rugs. And then the other example I would tell you is last year was the first year where they took away teachers' ability to enter in discipline, like specific instances that happen in the classroom, into their system, where parents and then administrators and any kind of auditing can take place to see what's going on. Instead, they were running it through school principals and assistant principals and deans of students, and they were the ones putting it in. So they can say, our things are going down, but why are we taking away all these different means of reporting if we trust our teachers? We trust our teachers are putting in the data from behavior that's truly happening and not gatekeeping it.
That's crazy. All right, Nathan, I appreciate the call, man. I'm going to put you on hold. I want to get your information. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more off the air. It's 11:29. We're up against it. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. A dangerous stretch of heat settling in across Middle Tennessee. Right now, we're 92 degrees at the airport. Heat index already at triple digits at 100. This heat advisory runs until Sunday night. Feels like temperatures could reach 105 degrees and above. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Luigi Mangione pleading guilty today to 2 federal stalking charges. Prosecutors say he tracked down and fatally shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a Manhattan sidewalk in 2024. ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky outside the federal courthouse there in Manhattan.
After nearly 2 years of maintaining he was not guilty of killing Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione sat at the defense table, cropped hair, stubble on his face, beige jail uniform, and admitted to a federal judge, I shot Brian Thompson in Manhattan and he died.
So now he faces the possibility of life behind bars. Legal observers are watching closely to see whether the plea triggers a double jeopardy challenge to the state prosecution. Here in Nashville, a former Metro Nashville Public Schools Teacher of the Year is raising concerns about student discipline after leaving the classroom. Fox 17's Madeline Nolan reports during a Metro Nashville Board of Education meeting, Samira Hardcastle alleged teachers are often forced to keep disruptive students in class and avoid reporting certain behavior issues.
Samira Hardcastle was Teacher of the Year at John F. Kennedy Middle School in Antioch and a Blue Ribbon Teacher of the Year for the district. But in May, she resigned. Her 3-page letter raised a number of concerns about Metro Public Schools. This week, she took them directly to the school board, and that includes discipline.
We are simply banned from reporting them, forcing us to keep disruptive students in the classroom. Statistics are being skewed to protect the district, not our children.
MNPS disputes that. The district tells Fox 17 News it has no evidence that claim has been substantiated at JFK Middle School or district-wide.
Yeah, the district is claiming that students sent to the office for behavioral issues is down some 55%. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at United Structural Systems, USS. If you got waterproofing issues, you probably don't have to worry about it this weekend because I don't see any rain in the forecast. But when the rain comes back, so will the issue. And it's no laughing matter. When you got water getting into your crawl space or into your basement, that is a peace of mind issue. And if you refuse to fix it or ignore the problem, it's only going to get worse. The water getting into your crawl space will lead to wood rot, could lead to mold. You don't want your family breathing that in. On top of that, if you're noticing cracks in your walls, uneven floors, a driveway that's starting to sink, that could really be some big issues that left untreated could get very, very expensive very, very fast. This is why I'm going to recommend United Structural Systems. These guys have been doing this work the right way since 1994. No scare tactics, no quick fixes, just real inspections, honest answers, and solutions that are built to last. So whether it's foundation repair, crawl space issues, concrete leveling, USS is going to use engineered system designed for long-term performance, not temporary patches. And if you don't need the work, that's literally what they tell you. If you do, you'll know exactly what they're going to do before the job gets started. Right now, they're offering a ton of financing options so you can get it fixed today and pay for it down the road. Don't wait because waiting could cost you more. Visit USSTN.com or call 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, USSTN.com. It's 11:39 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We're on all the apps, the FM dial, YouTube, and Rumble. Find us, hit like, hit subscribe. We got a couple more calls on the school stuff that we'll run through, and then we'll jump into the lightning round. So Pat, Brenda, Eddie, we'll get to you guys real quick, and then we'll move forward. Let's go to Pat first in Gallatin. What's up, Pat? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to talk with you.
Likewise. What do you got?
Well, just wanted to make a few comments. I subbed for 10 years in actually Sumner County, and I can't even go there about most things. The discipline is horrible. They don't really know how to tie their shoes because of Velcro. They can't tell analog time. Of course, they don't do cursive. But I was in a class subbing for like a history type thing, and for a week they were studying China. And one of the teachers came in while I was in there, and she was like, "How are y'all doing with this?" And they were like, "Oh, good." And she was like, "So, okay, we've been studying China and everything. So what do you think? Like, would you like to maybe move to China? Have you ever thought of living there? What do you think?" And one of them said, "Well, I mean, how could I live there? I don't speak Spanish."
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Oh, Lord. Me and that teacher, well, first of all, our brains were melting out of our ears. We had brain damage from this question. We could barely make it to the lounge before we just freaked out. I mean, and she was like, "Well, probably it wouldn't matter since they speak Chinese in China." They did not have most of the students did not have a clue that Spanish is not the spoken language in China.
China?
And I kid you not. Oh, it just goes on and on. Most of like if you have to do rote reading, okay, you take this paragraph or you take this sentence, you could scream. It's like the and I'm talking about 5th grade, middle school. They cannot read.
But you know, at the end of the day, Pat, at least there are some stunning and brave teachers that are very focused on teaching these kids their pronouns in some of these school districts around the country.
Oh, well, of course, I quit like at COVID, so I was not inundated with all that pronoun stuff, but I couldn't have taken it. And plus, I realized I needed to quit because I really wanted to grab some of them by the throat. So, I mean, it's horrible.
Pat was like, let me retire before I go full octagon on these kids.
Yeah, that's about right.
Appreciate the call, Pat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Brenda in Knox. What's up, Brenda?
Oh, Chris, you've really hit a nerve. First, I want to say my daughters are 41 and 38. When my oldest went to school, just to make a long story short, by the 2nd grade, she couldn't read. And she would bring home papers that had random letters, you know, like words, and it would have a star on the paper. And I took it to the school. I talked to the teacher, said, you know, this is not words. She's not reading. And she said, no, that was 1st grade. She said, oh, she'll get it. By 2nd grade, they wanted to test her and put her in special education. I pulled her out. It took me a couple of years to get her up to speed with reading. And it's all worked out good. My 2 daughters, homeschooled them all the way through. They went to college. They're married. They have 3 kids each. And I just want to tell people who's thinking about homeschooling, it's not always easy. You'll have days when you feel like crying. And then some days and other days are great. And some days your kid will not want to do anything. I put it aside and took them to the park.
Yep.
You know, you just work with them where they're at.
But I think that it really does mirror just life with kids, though.
It does. It really does. And their interest, sometimes their interest, you know, they'll have certain interests that, you know, let them go with that. You know, I mean, teaching, the most important thing, if they can read and do math, and then you introduce all the other subjects, but that's the most 2 important things. And I want to say that there are things going on that parents don't know. This was clear back then. It was called affective education. Now they call it social emotional education. It's a total focus on how they feel about everything. And we found where they were, I'm kind of nervous today, but we found that they were assessing, this was in Ohio, they were assessing the child's opinions and values, and the Departments of Education provided testing on this, and then they provided curriculum to correct if a child didn't have the correct opinion about Mother Earth or anything political, then you could get curriculum that would be used to correct that. And the curriculum came from the Federal Department of Education.
Yep.
And
that needs to be disbanded.
It does. They said they were going to shut it down, but they're going to put these different departments in other departments of government. And it is just, there's so much that parents don't know. This goes back to the 80s, and I know they're still doing it. And I'm not blaming the teachers. The teachers had nothing to do with the tests. They said that those tests were brought down from the State Department of Education, given, and then gathered back up and taken back. They never saw the test. They didn't give the test anything. So it's criminal, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
Yes. And there was a woman in Pennsylvania that found this. Her name was Anita Hogue. And she had a photographic memory, and she took it all the way up to the State Department of Education in Pennsylvania, and they let her see the test there, but she couldn't have a paper, you couldn't write anything down or anything like that, but she memorized the questions, and she memorized the numbers that went with the questions. And then she found through different materials they were sending her, because they thought she was just some, little mother that couldn't figure anything out. And she found where she could go on this big computer system. And when she did, and she typed in these numbers, that's where this curriculum come pouring out that was to fix these kids' opinions. Yep. Now, this is the truth. This was in the 80s that they were doing this, and they were probably doing it in every state.
I hear you, Brenda. That's crazy. I appreciate the call, as always. Let's go to Eddie real quick in Mount Juliet. What's up, Eddie?
I've got a 25-year-old and 27-year-old that went through the public school system. They learned to read. They learned to write. They were not encouraged to transition. They were not taught pronouns. They were not taught to hate the country. They went to good colleges. They got money off at both colleges. And now they have pretty damn good jobs.
That's cool.
As you like to say, isn't that weird? And I live in a blue state. How does that happen?
You were probably in an affluent neighborhood, probably doing pretty good for yourself. By the way, we knew you were the seminar caller. Like, you could just tell us it's you.
I thought all the public schools, aren't all the public schools woke?
Oh, so we shouldn't bring up the fact that public schools are failing. We shouldn't bring up the fact that Metro Nashville schools are shutting down reports on kids with knives in school and just giving them in-school suspension. We shouldn't talk about that at all. You have an issue with that? You have an issue with me talking about a teacher sending an email to parents about their pronouns when there are kids in high school that can't read? Like, this is the thing that you liberals do. So your kids had a good experience. I know kids that have gone.
I'm not liberal.
Yes, okay. I know kids that have gone through the public school system that can read and can write. It's not every teacher. It's not every classroom. But you think that I'm making this broad generalization. But the reality is staring in front of us that there are kids that can't read and write in high school. That you want to get on the line and you want to be like, ignore all of that because my kids are doing great and I'm in New Jersey.
No, my issue is that you paint this with a broad brush.
So all you guys do, right? all you leftists, which you are, you're a leftist. You're a leftist. So I'll get screamed that I'm a racist. and then I'll be told that I'm doing the wrong thing when I'm saying that inner city schools should be teaching kids how to read and write. So I can't win.
Where do your 9 kids go to school?
We homeschool because the public education system has turned into an indoctrination system over the past couple of decades.
Right. Well, maybe you shouldn't live in a crap state like Tennessee.
Hey, you're right. This state is so crap. You are far better off in New Jersey. You're welcome to stay there. Thank you for the call. 11:50. I do have time for one story in the lightning round if we can jump into it.
It's the lightning round.
What happened to my music? I was dancing.
You said real quick, so I didn't know if you wanted to cut it short or.
Well, I wanted to dance.
That's fair. Hold on.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
Dance.
You're right. I need not to be so pessimistic today.
I was busting some moves there, brother Hand.
We both were. I saw Ken wasn't on the camera, but he's
moving.
He had a little jive.
Yeah, man, I was pop locking.
Yep. He didn't drop it, but he did pop and lock it. We got a story here for you in the lightning round. This is hold on, let me find exactly where this is from. This is in South Carolina, the home of the esteemed Darlene Graham.
Ooh.
So, flock cameras, they're getting attacked.
Oh.
So people are spraying expanding foam sealant on them.
Oh, nice.
And the police are like, you got to help us. It's like begging the public for help. So they have received 40,000 tips to help solve this crime.
Whoa.
I know. Like, when you ask people to step up, they will. Some of the public have submitted tips like, it was me. I drove by with my windows down and sneezed. It must have hit them. There's another one here that says, I heard he had a cape. Another tip came in, and it said, I was told his name is Robin Hood, and I'll be damned if Sherwood Forest starts snitching.
Appears to be covered in a foam sealant. And this is the latest example of vandalism to these cameras nationwide. Cameras that have already sparked concerns about privacy and surveillance. A pair of flock cameras sprayed, covered, and compromised. These are just 2 of 11 cameras set up throughout the town of Irmo. People taking to social media to applaud the defacement, while other residents like Gloria Hallman think otherwise.
And I think it's really, really, really sad.
Flock cameras.
Poor Gloria. Gloria.
Really sad.
I feel bad for Gloria.
I do too. She just doesn't know.
Gloria obviously wants to be safe. And I think that's the battle that we're dealing with flock cameras. Safety versus liberty.
Yep.
Are automated license plate readers used by law enforcement to help track cars and investigative leads.
I mean, that's like the simplistic definition of them.
Very so.
And that may be what they're currently used for in that community. But if you walk by them, they're logging the Bluetooth on your phone. It doesn't just get your license plate. It gets your bumper stickers. It gets your car damage. It also creates a map of how you move around that town. It knows everywhere you go. It knows if you're breathing inside the town. That's not my words. That's a police officer that attacked a woman who said she stole a package inside a neighborhood because of the flock cameras and the bad evidence from the flock cameras.
Falsely accused her.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yep, not the other way around.
The vandalism comes just less than a month after town council approved a contract worth more than $400,000 to bring 22 more cameras to the community. A decision town councilman Gabriel Penfield was the only one to oppose. He says he doesn't support the vandalism, but does have concerns about the technology.
There are a lot of unanswered questions as relates to the use of flock cameras, and it's certainly become a national topic.
Some Irmo residents joining the nationwide pushback, with people raising concerns about possible misuse and mismanagement of the system. According to reports, some officers have been fired or arrested for allegedly abusing the system for their own use. But Hallman says the widespread attacks on the cameras aren't the answer.
And the only thing it does is frighten people in a community that's safe. If they know this, okay.
Irmo police.
It's back to poor elderly Gloria, who she just doesn't understand. It's not exactly what they're being used for today. It's that we're building out the infrastructure for a future government to abuse. If we have a democratic socialist president in 2028 or 2032, and they, God forbid, have the House and or the Senate, imagine what they're going to do with all of these cameras. And it's just for you and I. It's not for the elite. If you look at the flock cameras, there's a website. Is it deflock.org, the website? I think it's deflock.org or deflock.com.
I think so.
I think it's .org. If you look at the maps, you go to the most affluent neighborhoods in some of these cities, and there's no flock cameras. Like if you go to New York City and you go to the Upper West Side in Manhattan, there's not one flock camera. So it's surveillance for thee, but not for me. I'm anti-flock camera all day. I think we ran out of time. Did we run out of time?
Got about a minute.
All right, I got another one. This guy, I don't know, would you call this man a hero or would you call him a villain? An Arizona man says he has absolutely no regrets because he was arrested after using his truck to bend a flock camera pole backwards until the camera faced the sky.
Kept backing up and I saw it bend back. I saw it looking at the sky and I said, that's good enough.
Pinal County resident Ed Kale says he was arrested and faces a felony criminal damage charge after he used his work truck to bend a surveillance camera toward the sky. Kale says he did it to protest what he calls an invasion of privacy.
Move out here because we want quiet. We don't want to cause any trouble. I don't. Now I'm under surveillance.
Kale's frustration comes as scrutiny of license plate reader technology continues to grow across Arizona.
I think it takes away from our free will. You know, we shouldn't be recorded everywhere we go.
On Wednesday, Pinal County Sheriff Ross Teeple announced he won't renew the county's contract with Flock Safety's automatic license plate reader cameras, citing concerns over government overreach and constitutional privacy.
Based.
Friday, Chandler 2 announced it will discontinue using 40 of its flock cameras.
Also
I was real happy to hear that the sheriff of Pinal County is pulling them out.
Flock says its cameras capture still images of vehicles and license plates in public, but cannot track people or identify drivers.
Sure thing, pal. It's 11:57. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy with Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and this morning we are out and about at my house, my brand new house that I've been talking about on the radio, with Nate from USS. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm excellent. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
We invited Nate out. Now, obviously, when you're a new homeowner, especially when you buy a house that's got a few years on it, you don't know what you're dealing with in terms of foundation. And I know that Nate knows a lot more about what I don't see and what I don't know about than I do. So bring the experts out and get them to check out your house. Hey guys, Matt Murphy again with Nate with USS, and Nate has just wrapped up kind of a look at the house. And Nate, what'd you find?
Well, your house is in pretty good shape for the age of it. I had to look pretty hard to find.
Okay.
Your house being on a slope like it is here, I think we could do a lot of good by trying to terminate your downspouts a little further from the house there.
Okay.
Roof water is the killer of foundations, and so if we can just get it to a positive grade to drain away from your house, I think that's real cheap insurance.
You want to kind of get it out and downhill.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
So
the idea.
make sure that it doesn't come right back down towards the foundation walls, causing issues, settlement, or leakage.
Now, if folks are watching this video and they are like, we need to get Nate out to the house to do a look. I mean, it took, I watched you do it. It's, what, 30, 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
To do a comprehensive kind of an examination around the house. And they just give you a call and schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. You can call our main phone number, or you can call reach USSTN.com and schedule right through the website there. Our girls in the call center will get back to you just about immediately, as long as it's during business hours. So
this just makes a lot of sense, folks, for you guys to do an examination of your house like we've done to check it out. I'm going to get those gutters done with Nate and his team at USS, and then we'll do a video and let you know how those look at the end of all of this. So thank you, guys.
Hey, that'd be great.
We appreciate you, brother.
Matt,
all
we
right.
appreciate you.